Contention 1 is finitude. America's attachment to an economy organized around fossil fuels is fast-tracking the ecological and organizational arrangement that can only end catastrophe. Shear 2004, President of Eurosolar. The environmental disasters forced 25 million people to flee their homes. That these catastrophes result from the meltdown of the fossil energy age is something that only the terminally blinker can now contest. The countdown has begun, the bombs have already gone off. A return for fossil fuels to solar energy is inevitable. The only open question is whether this happens in time to avert the impending environmental disasters of fossil fuel consumption. The first half of the 21st century will decide the fate of human civilization. The dangers are too great to risk further procrastination. More frequent and more devastating environmental catastrophes are a warning we dare not ignore. Who could fail to have an inkling of how the end of the civilization might look? And oil is a commodity of finite nature. Inevitable scarcity risks economic and ecological collapse. Shear 2004. The increase of fossil fuel consumption has consequences. It accelerates the rate at which reserves are exhausted. Discussions on the impending scarcity of fossil fuels are an irritant to the business psychology of the global economy, whose movers and shakers are betting on the accelerated industrialization of the developing world, and who have their eyes on Russia's reserves. Everything points to the greatest growth conflict in world history. This conflict will also be the last, and its aftermath will be chaos. And finitude creates a division between those who can afford fossil fuels and those who cannot. This culminates in genocide to maintain access. Shear 2004. The most sensitive question humanity faces is whether the global economy produces enough to go around. If there's not enough to go around, then the Nazi doctrine of national selection will not remain an isolated historical episode. The distinction between the privileged and the disenfranchised will be maintained. We face the threat of new genocides and new ecocides brought about by humans and guaranteed by the law of the market. The answer is not environmental protection, but essential is the primacy of physical laws over the laws of the market. This means, above all, that locally or regionally produced solar energy should be consumed and marketed in preference to otherwise equivalent products. A society which is unable to reverse the primacy of the market over nature is destined to die. The choice is not between the free market or the planned economy. It is questioning the physical laws that govern market and planned economy alike. And discussions of oil scarcity are foreclosed by those who dominate the global economy. Postponing this discussion risks war over shrinking reserves. Shear 2004. Today's global economy is a closed shop from which other resources are excluded. The planet on which we live is both an open and a closed system at the same time. As long as the global economy continues to operate on the basis of these limited energy and material supplies, its future prospects will be bleak. Firstly, supplies of fossil resources are limited. Secondly, the processes in which these resources are used inevitably overstretch, damage, and even destroy those limited planetary resources on which our lives depend. The global economy is fired primarily with crude oil and is consequently dependent on the supplies of these resources. The global economy is dominated by pyromaniacs intent on burning ever greater quantities of fossil fuels. Continued dependence on fossil fuels is sending the world's future up in smoke. Global body politic is faced with its most important decision yet. It is a choice between sunlight and ash. And the need to secure fossil fuels causes resource wars. Shear 2004. The visible ravages of the fossil fuel economy are bearing ill tidings for the 21st century. By overexploiting the planet's resources, we are sowing the seeds of a bitter harvest. It is a harvest that will threaten to bear the one world ideal forever. It is a harvest that will reshape the values of every society it touches. The conflicts could well escalate into a clash of civilizations. Huntington fails to see the root cause of these conflicts, the deep-seated need to secure a potentially endangered fossil resource base. Resource reserves are in truth the flashpoints for ever more conflicts. Crisis and war have thus far remained confined to isolated geographical regions. Iraq, Chechnya, and the like are but a foretaste of a gathering conflict that threatens the very existence of global civilization. And the inevitable finitude of fossil fuels makes extinction inevitable. The oil crunch will irrevocably destroy the economy and create the conditions for the most brutal military conflict in human history. Shear 2004. Economic chaos will have become unavoidable even before this happens. Energy prices will rise beyond consumers' ability to pay. There will be political tension and violence. If demand eventually does outstrip supply, the result threatens to be the greatest bloodbath in human history. Humanity will then be embroiled in a historically unparalleled fight for survival and will lose if the fossil global economy prosecutes its orgy of consumption to the bitter end. The result threatens to be the most brutal military conflict in human history, truly the war to end all wars. Thus, we propose the following plan to solve these harms. The United States federal government should incentivize solar energy in the United States. Contention 2 is solvency. Envisioning a complete solar economy is necessary to create social momentum to actualize the transition. Shear 2005, President of Eurosolar, General Chairman of the World Council for Renewable Energy. A realistic picture on the state of renewable energy shows that their promotion must become a primary strategy everywhere. A new solution. Firstly, it is ignored. Secondly, there is a fight against it. Thirdly, all former skeptics become inventors. Many experts speak in favor of renewable energy. Many oil supporters continue the self-interested blockades. Renewable energies are not really accepted as a priority by a majority of decision makers in politics and economics. No one will become a driving force without courage, consistent concepts, and new allies. A consistent concept derives from evolutions which can tell us the reasons why some concepts succeeded. A great concept even law ensures access for independent power suppliers, protects them from the interferences of conventional power suppliers by creating a special market framework for renewables. Wherever this concept has been introduced, renewable development is accelerated quickly. Wherever a renewable portfolio standard system was introduced, there has been much slower developed. The courage to overrule the conventional energy interest. Many of these interests are deeply interconnected with governments. The mobilization of the common people. The general public is the best ally for renewable energies. We must enlighten people about the possibilities and benefits of renewable energies and challenge the will of people to be responsible for our common future. The establishment of a new social economic alliance, farmers' associations, the association of machine manufacturers, and no time in history has such an alliance of different groups existed. It is only possible to mobilize these alliances if society will directly benefit. The goal for the total replacement of nuclear and fossil energies, the possibility of completely recovering energy demands by means of renewable energy sources should be shown worldwide and for each country. It is not necessary to calculate it accurately. No serious economist is in a position to predict the future cost of new technology, nor the speed at which the cost will decline as a result of mass production. It is only necessary to outline the principal opportunity in replacing all conventional energies. We can overcome the myth that they are indispensable. If society's players become aware of the possibility of renewable energy, more decision makers will abandon the obsessive idea that further large-scale investments for conventional plants would be needed. For soft energies, we need a hard-line strategy. And solar can provide enough energy. The sun delivers 15,000 times more energy than is consumed by the entire human population. Shear 2004. The solar system will last for about another 4.5 billion years. The sun will continue to give up its energies to people. The sun supplies energy in quantities sufficient to satisfy energy demands in an expanding human sphere. Every year the sun delivers 15,000 times more energy than is consumed by the entire human population. It is therefore grotesque when people assert that humankind's energy needs cannot be met from solar energy alone. And nanosolar particles solve. Science Daily 2. Solar energy has not been inexpensive enough in the past. Professor of chemistry developed a new type of nanoparticle, a tiny chemical compound far too small to be seen with the naked eye. Today's solar panels are made with silicon. Silicon usually has impurities which limits its efficiency. Purifying a chemical is too expensive. Smaller is better. And solar ensures energy security. It's inexpensive and abundant. Zweigel, Mason, and Fittenex, 2007 Scientific American magazine. Solar energy's potential is off the chart. The energy in sunlight striking the Earth for 40 minutes is equivalent to global energy consumption for a year. 250,000 square miles of land in the southwest of London are suitable for constructing solar power plants. Converting that radiation into electricity would match the nation's total energy consumption in 2006. If biomass sources were also developed, renewable energy could provide 100% of the nation's electricity. Solar plants consume little or no fuel, saving billions of dollars year after year. And the peak will come by 2010. A variety of statistics prove. Heinberg, Senior Fellow of the Post-Carbon Institute, 5. When the world runs out of oil, it's not relevant. What matters is when production begins to taper off. The decline will begin before 2010. Official figures contain systematic errors arising from the fact that OPEC are motivated to inflate reserve figures. 80% of oil today flows from fields found before 1973. The majority are declining. Oil companies replaced estimates with higher numbers, seriously distort forecasts. Oil discovery peaked in the 1960s and has been falling. And peak oil is coming soon. Lead Professor of Economics, 7. Oil discovery peaked in the 60s. Global production peaked around 2010. 61 estimates concluded there's considerable agreement on the figure under 2 trillion barrels. The total production has been 1 trillion, and peak occurs when half has been completed. Production peak is likely in a few years. And solar is marketable. Zweigel, Mason, and Fittenex, 2007 Scientific American magazine. The cost to produce photovoltaic cells has dropped significantly. Commercial efficiencies have risen in the past 12 months. It is worth noting that as modules and rooftop photovoltaics become more cost competitive for homeowners. I'm open for cross-examination.